The rain fell in sheets across the small town of Millfield that evening, turning the streets into rivers of reflection. Ray Martinez wiped the grease from his callous hands as he prepared to close his struggling auto repair shop for the day. At 35, his face already showed the lines of someone who had weathered life's storms, both literally and figuratively. The Martinez Auto sign flickered weakly above the garage, much like Ray's hopes for keeping the business afloat for another month. As Ray pulled down the garage door, the headlights of the last bus of the day swept across the street. The town single bus stop stood just across from his shop, a simple bench with a weathered metal roof that did little to shield anyone from the sideways rain. Ray was about to turn away when he noticed a woman in a white dress, soaked through, clutching a small suitcase and what appeared to be a crumpled bouquet. Even from a distance, Ray could see she was trembling. Her mascara had created dark rivers down her cheeks, though whether from tears or rain, he couldn't tell. What struck him most was a wedding dress once elegant, now sodden and mud-splattered at the hem. "Hey!" Ray called out, jogging across the street, his old work jacket held above his head. "Bus is gone for the night. You okay?" The woman looked up, her eyes red-rimmed and vacant. "I'm fine," she replied automatically, though everything about her suggested otherwise. "You don't look fine," Ray said gently. "And that bench won't get any drier. My shop's right there. At least come in until the rain stops." She hesitated, clutching her suitcase tighter. "I'm Ray," he offered, extending his hand. "Ray Martinez. I own the garage. I promise I'm not as scary as I look with all this grease." A ghost of a smile crossed her lips. "Sophia," she replied, her voice barely audible above the drumming rain. "Sophia-chun. Well, Sophia-chun, I've got a pot of coffee inside that's probably still warm, and the weatherman says this storm's going to last all night. What do you say?" As Sophia rose shakily to her feet, Ray noticed the elegant engagement ring still on her finger, catching the dull glow of the streetlight. What had happened to send a bride to a bus stop on what should have been the happiest day of her life? Ray couldn't imagine, but something told him that taking her in from the rain was the right thing to do, perhaps the only thing to do. Little did he know that this simple act of kindness would set in motion events that would change both their lives forever. The small back office of Martinez Auto was sparsely furnished but mercifully warm. Ray cleared a stack of invoices from his worn leather couch and motioned for Sophia to sit. She perched on the edge, her wedding dress pooling around her feet in a sad, damp heap. "Thank you," she said, accepting the steaming mug of coffee Ray offered. Her hands trembled slightly as she wrapped her fingers around it. "I found a clean towel," Ray said, handing her a slightly threadbare but clean shop towel. "It's not exactly spa quality, but it'll help." Sophia smiled weakly and dabbed at her face, the white fabric coming away stained with mascara. "I must look a mess." "I've seen worse come through that door," Ray joked, settling into his desk chair. "Though usually it's guys who've been working under cars, all day, not. Runaway brides?" Sophia finished for him, a flash of pain crossing her features. Ray nodded awkwardly. "You don't have to talk about it." The rain drummed against the roof as silence stretched between them. Ray busied himself with straightening tools on his desk, giving her space. "I was supposed to get married today," Sophia finally said, her voice stronger than before. "To Jason Winters." Ray's eyebrows shot up. "Jason Winters?" "Of Winters Development." Sophia nodded. Everyone in Millfield knew the Winters family. They owned half the town, including the land Ray's shop sat on. "It was all arranged," Sophia continued, staring into her coffee. "Our families have known each other forever. Jason's father and my father are business partners. The wedding was expected, but not wanted." Ray ventured. Sophia's eyes met his. "I thought I wanted it. I convinced myself I did. Jason is successful, handsome, the perfect catch, as my mother would say." She twisted the diamond ring on her finger. "But standing there today, in that church with 300 people watching, I couldn't breathe. I couldn't say the words." Ray watched as she took a shaky breath. "I ran, right out the side door, during the hymn. Nobody even noticed for a minute. I just ran until I couldn't anymore. Found myself at the bus stop, planning to go anywhere. Then the rain started. And the bus never came, Ray finished. Sophia nodded, a tear slipping down her cheek. My phone's been ringing nonstop. My parents, Jason, his family, I turned it off. They must be so angry, humiliated. And how do you feel? Ray asked quietly. Sophia looked surprised, as if no one had thought to ask her that question before. Guilty. Terrified. She paused, and relieved. Ray nodded. Sounds about right. You don't think I'm awful? 300 guests, a $50,000 wedding, both families' reputations. I think, Ray said carefully, that $50,000 is a steep price to pay for a lifetime of not breathing. A genuine laugh escaped Sophia's lips, transforming her face. When you put it that way, look, Ray said, I don't know you or your situation, but I've fixed enough cars to know that sometimes the check engine light comes on for a reason. Ignore it, and you end up broken down on the side of the road. Sophia studied him with newfound interest. You're not what I expected from mechanic, Ray Martinez. And you're not what I expected to find at the bus stop tonight, he replied with a small smile. Life's funny that way. As the storm raged outside, Sophia shared more of her story, how she'd met Jason in college, how their families had pushed them together, how she gradually lost her own dreams of becoming an artist in the shadow of his ambitions. Ray listened, offering coffee refills and occasional insights, but mostly just letting her talk. The thing is, Sophia said, her voice stronger now, I don't even know who I am anymore. I've spent so long being who everyone else wanted me to be. Well, Ray said, figuring that out is the adventure, isn't it? For the first time since she'd arrived, Sophia smiled, fully a genuine smile that reached her eyes. I suppose it is. The next morning, Ray offered Sophia his spare room above the garage. Just until you figure out your next move, he insisted when she protested. Besides, having company around this place wouldn't be the worst thing. What Ray didn't tell her was just how much trouble the garage was in. As she settled into the small but clean apartment upstairs, Ray sat at his desk reviewing the latest bills. 3 months behind on rent to Winter's development. Part suppliers threatening to cut him off, and barely enough customers to keep the lights on. Martinez Auto had been his father's pride and joy. When Miguel Martinez passed away 2 years ago, Ray had promised to keep it going. But in a town increasingly dominated by chain stores and dealerships, the small independent garage was struggling to survive. Ray rubbed his face tiredly. He had maybe a month before he'd have to close for good. And now he had taken in the runaway bride of the son of his landlord, the same landlord who was threatening to evict him if he didn't pay up soon. Smooth move, Martinez, he muttered to himself. A knock on the office door interrupted his thoughts. Sophia stood there, changed into jeans and a simple T-shirt she'd had in her suitcase, looking like a different person. I made some coffee, she said, offering him a mug. I hope that's okay. More than okay, Ray said gratefully, accepting it. Sleep all right. Better than I have in months, Sophia admitted. She glanced at the papers on his desk. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your work. Ray hastily gathered the bills. Just some paperwork. Nothing important. Sophia's eyes lingered on the eviction. Notice he hadn't quite managed to hide. Ray is a garage in trouble? He considered deflecting, but found himself too tired to lie. Been better. Been worse too, though. He forced a smile. Don't worry about it. I'll figure something out. Because of me? Sophia asked, her face concerned. If Jason's family finds out I'm here, this has nothing to do with you, Ray assured her. Business has been slow since Dad died. That's all. Sophia didn't look convinced. Let me help, at least while I'm here. I can answer phones, schedule appointments, anything. I'm good with organization. Ray started to refuse, then reconsidered. He could use the help, and it might give Sophia something to focus on besides her situation. Tell you what, he said. You help me around the shop, and we'll call it even for the room. Deal. Sophia extended her hand formally, a spark of determination in her eyes. Deal, Mr. Martinez. As they shook hands, neither realized how this arrangement would transform both their lives, or that within days, The entire town would be talking about the odd pair at Martinez Auto. Word spread quickly through Millfield. By the end of Sophia's first week at the garage, everyone knew that Ray Martinez was harboring Jason Winter's runaway bride. Some customers came just to gawk, others to show support, and a surprising number came because they were curious about the changes happening at the old garage. Because changes there were. Sophia might not have known much about cars, but she knew plenty about business and people. She organized Ray's chaotic filing system, created a proper appointment book, and set up a simple computer system to track inventory and customer histories. "You've been undercharging for oil changes," she told Ray one evening as they reviewed the day's receipts, "and overcharging for brake jobs. We need to adjust your pricing structure." Ray raised an eyebrow. "We?" Sophia blushed. "Sorry, I just meant." "No, I like the sound of it," Ray said with a smile. "Just surprised to hear you say it." The truth was, in just a week, Sophia had breathed new life into Martinez Auto. The waiting area, once a jumble of old magazines and mismatched chairs, was now clean and inviting with fresh coffee available and current reading materials neatly arranged. She'd even put some of her own artwork on the walls. Simple sketches of classic cars that customers had begun to admire. Ray found himself working harder than ever, but enjoy it more too. There was something about having someone believe in what he was doing that made the long hours worthwhile. "You know," he told Sophia as they shared a pizza at the end of a particularly busy day, "Dad would have liked you. He always said the garage needed a woman's touch." "I think he'd be proud of you," Sophia replied. "You're good at what you do, Ray. You just needed someone to handle the business side while you focused on the cars." They fell into a comfortable routine. Ray would work on vehicles while Sophia managed the front office, scheduled appointments, and gradually introduced marketing ideas, a social media page for the garage, discount coupons for regular customers, even a Saturday special for teachers and first responders. Business began to pick up, not dramatically, but enough that Ray could start making payments on his back rent and parts bills. For the first time in years, he felt hopeful about the garage's future. Meanwhile, Sophia was changing too, away from the pressures of her family and former fiancé. She seemed to bloom. She started sketching more, not just cars, but the town, the people who came into the shop, and especially Radley's last drawings she kept private. "I used to dream of being an illustrator," she confessed one night as they closed up. "Before I met Jason and got on the suitable career path, my parents approved of—" "Why'd you stop?" Ray asked, genuinely curious. Sophia shrugged. "Jason said art was a hobby, not a profession, and I guess I started to believe him." Ray shook his head. "Have you seen your work? You've got real talent." The simple compliment meant more to Sophia than all the expensive gifts Jason had ever given her. Ray's appreciation was honest, without agenda or expectation. What neither realized was that forces were gathering against them. Jason Winters had discovered where his runaway bride was staying, and he wasn't happy about it. The confrontation came on a busy Tuesday morning. Ray was under a Chevy Impala when he heard the commotion in the front office raise voices, one male and demanding, one female and increasingly distressed. He rolled out from under the car and made it to the office just as Jason Winters was leaning across the counter, his handsome face twisted with anger. "You humiliated me and both our families," Jason was saying. "And for what? To play house with some greased monkey in this dump." Sophia stood her ground, though Ray could see she was trembling. "I'm not coming back, Jason. It's over." "Over? Do you have any idea what you've done?" Jason laughed bitterly. "Your parents are devastated. My father is threatening to pull out of business with yours. All because you had cold feet." "It wasn't cold feet," Sophia said quietly. "I didn't love you. I don't think I ever did." The brutal honesty silenced Jason momentarily. That's when he noticed Ray standing in the doorway. "You," Jason said, his voice dripping with contempt. "You think you're some kind of hero, taking her in? Do you even know who she is, what she's worth?" Ray wiped his hands on a shop rag. "I know exactly who she is," he said calmly. "Question is, do you?" Jason snorted. "I know she belongs with me, not in this garage." "She doesn't belong to anyone," Ray replied. "And she's done more for this garage in 2 weeks than most people do in a lifetime." Jason's eyes narrowed. Is that right? Well, enjoy it while it lasts. My father owns this building, in case you've forgotten. Your rent's about to triple, Martinez. Ray felt his stomach drop, but kept his expression neutral. Do what you have to do. But Sophia stays here as long as she wants to. Ray, don't, Sophia whispered, her eyes wide with concern. Jason looked between them, his expression calculating. So that's how it is. Well, Sophia, when you're tired of playing mechanic's helper and want to return to reality, you know where to find me. He turned to leave, then paused at the door. Oh, and Martinez? You've got 30 days to pay up or clear out. Dad's orders. After Jason left, the garage felt unnaturally quiet despite the radio playing in the background. Sophia's hands were shaking as she straightened papers on the counter. I'm so sorry, she finally said. This is all my fault. Ray shook his head. Not your fault. They were looking for a reason to push me out anyway. Old shops like this don't fit their vision for the new mill field. But you stood up for me, and now... And I'd do it again, Ray interrupted. Some things matter more than business, Sophia. She looked at him then, really looked at him, as if seeing him clearly for the first time. This man who had taken her in without question, who had given her space to find herself again, who had just risked his father's legacy to defend her right to choose her own path. What are we going to do? She asked softly. Ray smiled, a determined glint in his eye. What we've been doing. Fix cars. Run a business. Just better and faster. You really think we can raise enough in 30 days? I think, Ray said, taking her hand, that we got nothing to lose by trying. News of the confrontation spread through Millfield like wildfire. By closing time, Ray had received a dozen calls from regular customers expressing support and promising to bring their vehicles in soon. The next morning, there was a line of cars waiting before the garage even opened. Mrs. Patterson? Your Buick isn't due for service for another month, Ray said in surprise as his elderly neighbor dropped off her car. Well, it's making a funny noise, the woman replied with a wink. Might take you a while to find it, too. Similar scenes played out all day. People brought in vehicles with minor issues or requested services they might normally have put off. Some came with cash in hand, insisting on paying in advance for future work. By week's end, word had reached the local newspaper. A reporter came by asking to do a story on the garage renaissance and a mysterious new office manager who had changed everything. I'd rather not be in the article, Sophia told Ray after declining the interview. I don't want this to become about Jason and me. It's not about that anymore, Ray assured her. It's about what you've done here. People respond to authenticity, Sophia. They see someone believing in something, putting their heart into it. They want to be part of that. The article ran the following Sunday, focusing on Ray's fight to keep his father's legacy alive and the community's response. Though Sophia wasn't named directly, the piece mentioned new management strategies and the garage's improved customer service. The story caught the attention of classic car enthusiasts in neighboring towns. Soon, Ray found himself with specialty restoration projects work that paid significantly better than the routine maintenance that had been his bread and butter. Sophia, meanwhile, had begun offering hand-drawn portraits of customers' beloved vehicles as a premium service. What started as a small sideline became increasingly popular, with orders coming even from people who didn't need mechanical work. We might actually make it, Ray realized one night as they tallied the week's receipts. The total was the highest he'd seen in years, and they still had 2 weeks before the winter's deadline. Sophia smiled, though there was something hesitant in her expression. Ray, there's something I need to tell you. Before she could continue, they were interrupted by a knock at the door. Ray opened it to find Mr. Chun, Sophia's father, standing stiffly on the threshold. Father, Sophia gasped, rising quickly. The older man's face was unreadable as he surveyed the modest office. May I come in? Ray nodded, stepping aside. Of course, sir. Mr. Chin entered, his expensive suit out of place among the practical furnishings. Sophia, your mother and I have been worried. I'm fine, Father, she replied, her voice tight. I've been meaning to call, but But you've been busy, he finished, gesturing around the garage. So I see. An uncomfortable silence fell. Ray cleared his throat. I'll get you two some privacy. No need, Mr. Chen said. What I have to say concerns you as well, Mr. Martinez. Ray exchanged a glance with Sophia, who looked as apprehensive as he felt. I've spoken with Richard Winters, Mr. Chen continued. I understand he's given you an ultimatum regarding the rent on this property. That's between me and Winters Development, Ray said carefully. Mr. Chen nodded. Perhaps, but my daughter's happiness is my concern. And it seems she has found something here that was missing in her life with Jason. Sophia's eyes widened. Father, I may not understand your choices, Sophia, but I respect your right to make them, and I've seen what you've accomplished here. He turned to Ray. Mr. Martinez, I would like to make you a business proposition. Mr. Chen's proposition was unexpected, but simple. He wanted to invest in Martinez Auto, not as a silent partner, he clarified, but as a minority stakeholder. You would maintain control of operations and legacy. My contribution would clear your debt to Winters and provide capital for expansion. Ray was stunned. Why would you do this? Mr. Chen smiled slightly. I recognize potential when I see it. This garage has it. My daughter sees it. And contrary to what the Winters family might think, not everything in Millfield needs to be torn down and rebuilt as a chain store. The older man turned to Sophia. You found your voice here. I see that now. Your mother and we pushed too hard. We thought we knew what would make you happy. Tears welled in Sophia's eyes. I should have been honest with you sooner. Yes, her father agreed. But perhaps I should have asked the right questions. He extended his hand to Ray. What do you say, Mr. Martinez? Partners? Ray hesitated, looking at Sophia. This was about more than business now. I need to think about it, he said finally. This garage was my dad's dream. I need to be sure this is the right move. Mr. Chen nodded respectfully. Of course. Take the weekend. My offer stands. He kissed Sophia's cheek. Your mother would like to see you when you're ready. After he left, Sophia turned to Ray. This could solve everything. Why didn't you say yes immediately? Ray took her hands in his. Because this isn't just about saving the garage anymore. It's about us, Sophia. These past weeks, I've fallen in love with you. Sophia's breath caught. Ray! I know it's fast. I know you're still figuring things out. But before I make any decisions about the future of this place, I need to know if you see yourself in that future. Not because your father is investing, but because you want to be here. I love you too, Sophia whispered, tears spilling onto her cheeks. I wasn't looking for this. But neither was I, Ray admitted with a smile. Pretty sure rescuing runaway brides wasn't in my business plan. Sophia laughed through her tears. So what do we do now? I think, Ray said, pulling her close, we build something new. Together. The grand reopening of Martinez and Chen Auto Works drew a crowd that spilled into the street. The building, freshly painted and expanded, gleamed in the summer sunshine. A new sign displayed both family names and the silhouette of a classic car taken from one of Sophia's drawings. Inside, the garage had been transformed. The service area now featured state-of-the-art equipment, alongside Ray's treasured tools from his father. The waiting room doubled as a gallery for Sophia's automotive artwork, which had developed a following of its own. Richard Winters had been outmaneuvered. When faced with Mr. Chen's influence in the community's support for the garage, he reluctantly sold the property to the new partnership. The Winters family still controlled much of Millfield, but the corner that housed Martinez and Chen Auto Works was now permanently beyond their reach. As Ray cut the ceremonial ribbon, he spotted Jason at the back of the crowd, watching with an unreadable expression. Their eyes met briefly before Jason turned and walked away. Ray felt no triumph, only a quiet gratitude for the twist of fate that had brought him to this moment. Ready for this? Sophia asked at his side, squeezing his hand. The simple engagement ring on her finger caught the sunlight. Nothing like the ostentatious diamond Jason had given her, but infinitely more meaningful. As long as you're with me, Ray replied, kissing her softly. Mr. Chin raised a glass in toast to second chances and new beginnings. The crowd cheered, and the doors of Martinez and Chin Auto Works officially opened, welcoming in their first customers as partners. Later that evening, as they closed up together, Ray found Sophia in the office, looking at old photographs of his father that now hung alongside her artwork. "Do you think you would approve?" she asked. "All these changes?" Ray wrapped his arms around her from behind. He always said a garage was more than just a place to fix cars. It was a place to help people get back on the road, whatever road they chose. "I think he'd love what we've built here." Sophia turned his arms. "A year ago, I was planning a wedding to a man I didn't love, pursuing a career that made me miserable. And now, Ray prompted with a smile. "Now I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be," she finished. "It just took a broken-down bus schedule and a kind mechanic to help me find my way." As they walked out together, hand in hand, Ray couldn't help but marvel at how life works sometimes. He had offered shelter to a stranger in a wedding dress, never expecting that one simple act of kindness would not only save his father's legacy, but give him a love and partnership he'd never dreamed possible. Sometimes the most extraordinary journeys begin at an ordinary bus stop in the rain with nothing but kindness to light the way. And that, my friends, is the story of Ray and Sophia. Proof that sometimes the most beautiful destinations aren't on any map, and the most important journeys don't follow any schedule. When Ray offered shelter to a bride in distress that rainy night, he couldn't have known he was writing the first lines of their shared story. He simply saw someone in need and opened his door. That's the power of compassion. It creates possibilities where none seemed to exist before. Sophia found the courage to choose her own path, even when everyone around her had other plans. Sometimes the bravest thing we can do is admit when we're on the wrong road, even if we've traveled it for miles. Together, they transformed not just a struggling garage, but each other's lives and their community. They proved that success isn't measured by the size of a diamond ring or the prestige of an address, but by the authenticity of your work and the integrity of your heart. So the next time you find yourself at an unexpected crossroads, remember Ray and Sophia. Remember that the detours can become destinations, that kindness can rebuild what's broken, and that the people we help along the way might just be the ones who help us find our way home. If this story touched your heart, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more tales of hope, transformation, and love found in unlikely places. Leave a comment sharing a time when an unexpected change in your life led to something beautiful. Until next time, keep your hearts open and your kindness flowing.